welcome on back to the 4th and 30 podcast. Glad to have you again with us this week. Got a little bit of an L in there, but not much. I don't even think you guys caught it. No?
Sound good to me.
Wasn't paying attention to what you were saying.
Sound like a W to me.
But regular season is now over in the NFL. OVER over. It was a pretty exciting. Came down to literally the last 2 seconds of the season to figure out what the playoff seeding was going to be in the AFC. So that's probably where we're going to start. Those 3 overtime games. That's going to be the good of this show. Those 3 overtime games that all had playoff implications there on the very last day of the NFL season. I don't think you could write that. Like, people want to say the NFL is like scripted and all that. You can't predict. You can't script completing those 4th downs and Herbert getting that touchdown at the end of the 4th quarter. Like, you can't do that. There's too many other variables.
So let's go ahead and talk about the big one first. Raiders Chargers. And since we have our resident Steelers fan here, Kai, how big of a fan of Brandon Staley are you right now? Is he your second favorite coach in the NFL?
Both the coaches are pretty high up there. Now, so honestly, when you're watching the game, you think the Chargers timeout doesn't really mean anything there. But due to insider knowledge, because there was 38 seconds left with 4 seconds on the play clock, the Raiders were going to run that ball for 10 yards. You could say maybe he doesn't run it for 10 yards if they don't take the timeout, but who knows? So they're going to get 10 yards. If you're the Raiders coach and you have a 47-yard field goal, whether the Chargers took a timeout or not, and you don't try to kick that field goal and not even thinking about the Steelers, just put your division rival out of the playoffs, you do it every time.
I agree. I've seen so many people talking about how they should have played for a tie because something could have went wrong. Dude, if the Chiefs would have played for a tie in that game, like if they played in that game against the Raiders or the Chargers and played for a tie, I would have been so butthurt. I would have been so upset.
So
you put your division rival away when you can put them away.
So say you're a Raiders fan, or just substitute the Chiefs for the Raiders there. If that kick gets blocked and turns into a scoop and score, what do you do then? Are you still? That
was a bizarre situation that never happens. Got lucky to happen then.
As Mike Tomlin would say, you don't live in your fears. All right.
Yeah, if you're living in the fear of what's going to happen, then you're not playing the game of football right.
But I agree with you guys. I'm all for putting your division rivals out of the playoffs. And if that is whoever wins that game goes to the playoffs, by all means you kick that field goal. No questions asked. But if you're guaranteed a playoff spot with a tie, you're going to the playoff. It's guaranteed. If you take a knee, you're going to the playoffs. No questions asked.
What if they fumble a snap on taking a knee? Because it happened to the Chargers once trying to set up a game-winning field goal against the Chiefs at Arrowhead.
Well, it was the Raiders taking the snap. So
Chiefs recovered it. Chiefs went down and won. So it could happen.
But like Mike Tomlin says, you don't live in your fears, Kelsey.
So what's that kicker's name in Las Vegas? Carlson or
Daniel
something?
Carlson. Yeah.
Never missed a kick in Allegiant, right? So who's to say he doesn't have a great Uncle Hank out there somewhere? And it's like, hey, Hank, why don't you take some of this money, this cash here? You're in Vegas. Go just put it on a tie, and maybe that kick goes wide left. Like, no, it's a tie. Like, what? In my mind, what's that Donovan guy, the NBA ref? Like, why couldn't that have happened? We all, the world kind of wanted a tie there. I realize Pittsburgh didn't, but the world kind of wanted a tie there just to see what would happen.
I honestly was hoping so bad that the Raiders win that game. At the end, because I was going to lose so much faith in everything if there was a tie in that game. Because it played out like they were trying to tie. And if they were doing that, I was going to say the NFL is scripted. Like, these teams aren't even trying to win this game.
I think they were playing not to lose. They
were.
So
yeah. I would agree with that concept. You're not going to make a mistake to lose the game in overtime. You're just not. If it was a 60-yard field goal, Cody, I might agree with you. But a 47-yarder is routine. It's a routine field goal.
Today's NFL, it is.
Especially for that kicker. He's a stud. Daniel Carlson is a stud.
Yeah.
You're going to kick that.
I agree.
If you don't, shame on you.
Yeah, and it was both of those teams. I agree with the playing to not lose kind of thing, like, because you're like I said, that was the rare situation where a tie gets both teams to the playoffs. So, you can play a little more conservative, but that's the thing is like they were gunslinging in the fourth quarter. Like Herbert was unreal on fourth down. Like those teams were playing to win the game, and the Chargers had to really outplay the Raiders in the fourth quarter. But when it got to overtime, both teams were like, "Okay, we're just gonna run. We're gonna run the ball, see what happens. If 15 minutes just magically runs off the clock, whatever. Like we're both going to the playoffs."
I think the refs did make that bet, Carl, because had they called that face mask, it would not have ended in a tie.
Yeah.
Like that was game over, and that was in
obvious.
clearly a face mask.
But like, oh man, if that game ends in a tie, you remember that game for generations. We're gonna remember it for 5 or 6 years now. Like that would have been a generational game, like something that you tell your grandkids, "Hey, back in 22, this happened." Like it'd be nuts. And so we like I feel a little cheated on the history side of things just to watch all of the Twitter nerds and the on sports Twitter just kind of lose their shit. Like I wanted it. I know you shouldn't play for a tie. You should play to win the game. But like I wanted it, and I
Well,
would have played for the tie, and my dumb ass would have bet on the tie, and then been kicked out of the NFL forever. So like it is what it is. But
well, and that's it encapsulated this 2021 season perfectly for me. Is that if it would have tied, we couldn't have got a better game to end the regular season on. But had that ended in a tie, it would have like as crazy and wild and unpredictable as 2021 season has been. That would have been like the textbook closing of the season right there.
that would have been the last sack of Ben Roethlisberger is a tie in the
Yeah.
Chargers Raiders game. But speaking of, how about that Pitt Baltimore game? Kind of a I'll call it a defensive battle. I'll be nice. I'll call it a defensive battle. Uh, but again, another overtime game with playoff implications. Like that kind of stuff is fun to watch. And so, yeah, Baltimore didn't have anything. Like if they won the game, they still wouldn't have got in because the Dolphins ended up winning. But uh, you know, another great game. Like if that's what you're rooting for close games, week 18 that matter. That was a close game, week 18 that mattered. So
I'm gonna let our resident Steelers fan have his moment here, but I'm just gonna say, preface this whole thing. If you were watching that game, playoff spot on the line, potentially Big Ben's last game, I would have wanted to sit on a couch next to a Big Ben hater and watch Big Ben make throw after throw after throw in the fourth quarter to put that game away. That would have been the textbook story on how to watch that game for me. I wish you could have enjoyed that, Kyler. I wish that would have happened to you.
It actually did happen, but
Oh, it
I
did?
mean,
I didn't know that.
if you look back at Steelers Ravens rivalry, it doesn't matter who's playing on offense. This is how the game goes. It's 9 times out of 10, it's a slugfest. Doesn't matter who's playing. I don't know what the Steelers' problem is. The first 3 quarters of the game, not being able to move the ball. It's been a problem. But here's what you don't want to do against the Steelers. You don't want to give them a 1-possession game in the fourth quarter because that's when Big Ben is still at his best. He still makes. I mean, he made some good throws on that game-winning drive. No matter who's watching, he drilled that ball into Freiermuth right on target on the third down. They had 3 third-down conversions and 1 fourth down, all 7 yards or longer. It makes you wonder why they can't do it earlier in the game, but Big Ben capped his career with what he's always done to the Ravens with a game-winning drive, and it was pleasant. That's the way he should go out, and he did. So
Kyler, was I being a Big Ben hater while we were watching that game?
no, you weren't.
I was actually praising Big Ben, to be honest.
It was very rewarding for me to have to you sit there and have to watch that though.
But I was praising about how Ravens fans are probably sitting in the stands right now saying, "Thank God this guy's not going to be here anymore," because they went through this for how long?
He has 11
I don't think
career.
I'm a Big Ben hater. I'm a Big Ben realist, and some people don't like it. Big Ben has had a tremendous
haters say.
career and has demolished that division for years. Big Ben just isn't himself anymore. That's all I've said. He's not the same guy he has been. But it's a great way to cap off his
The
last
problem
game.
is the problem is for Steelers fans, you still see flashes of it. and then you think you've seen it for 18 years, so you think, man, maybe he still can do this. He still can with the game on the line.
If Big Ben wasn't as
to put it morbidly, you have your childhood dog, and yeah, their last few days they're gonna flash some greatness at you, but it's over, right?
time to put him down.
It's over.
So if Big Ben, and we've said this all year long, and it's no secret, if Big Ben wasn't as mobile as a filing cabinet, he could still play quarterback at a pretty high level. But that's the problem, is he looks like a filing cabinet without wheels on it. Like, that's how mobile he is. A filing cabinet with a freaking rocket for an arm, but
It's the filing cabinet from Bruce Almighty, the one that
Just put
across the room.
just put some sharks with some freaking laser beams attached to them on it.
I mean, the guy was in a Batman trilogy, for God's sake.
yeah.
He's done something with his life. Anyway, the other one was 49ers and Rams, which was a great game. I don't know if you guys got to watch any of that. Huge playoff implications, especially since the Niners are playing to even get in it. But then, the Rams being dropped all the way to 4 because of that. Kind of some ghost of Jared Goff stuff happening with Matt Stafford here at the end. So, but yeah, can't get enough of it. Overtime games this time of year, you can't ask for any more.
Yep.
Niners win or go home. They get the win, especially since the Saints won or that day. They weren't making the playoffs if they lost. And they came up big.
Niners are scary right now. Niners are playing well.
Yeah.
They're
Big
beating
moment.
teams.
Big moment for Jimmy G, man. They were down 17-0 in that game. Didn't
And
give
it was
up.
quick. It was a quick 17-0.
Yeah. Jimmy G shows flashes. I mean, he's a competent quarterback in the NFL. I think we would all agree with that. He's obviously not going to carry you. There's very few quarterbacks that can. But if the rest of that team, gets hot, that's a team that can make the Super Bowl. And we'll get into that more in the futures. But my takeaway, great comeback by Jimmy G. Hats off to him.
Yeah, and Shanahan uses Deebo Samuel so well too that it kind of masks Jimmy G not being an electric playmaker. He's not some flashy quarterback, but
it helps that Deebo Samuel's a big guy and massive speed. Like, that guy's underrated if he stays healthy.
Yeah, he is definitely.
Yeah, and then so the only real bad, the thing that made all of this possible, except the NFC game, Carson Wentz being who Kelsey thought he was, is really what led to all of this. That is probably the most inexcusable loss you could have in an NFL career. I mean, you can't lose the Jags on week 18 with playoffs
Yeah,
on
it's
the line.
week 18, win or go to the playoffs, and they're playing the Jags, not the Rams. And Carson
And lose
Wentz
by
comes up
multiple
as
touchdowns. Like, it's not even
badly as he
close.
can possibly come up.
So here's why things like that happen in the last week of the season, 17, 18, whatever it is. Here's why. Colts lost the previous week to the Raiders. Okay. Now you have to win and get in. You're coming off a loss. So your psyche's already kind of shaky. On the first drive of the game, Trevor Lawrence goes 8 for 8. Jaguars score a touchdown. Week 10, you're not really sweating a touchdown, 7-0. But week 18, win or go home, coming off a loss, and you just let Trevor Lawrence go 8 for 8 on you, that gets in your head, and it got in Carson Wentz's head. That guy was forcing the ball from the get-go, and it got to him. The pressure got to him.
I hate being an armchair quarterback because I've never played quarterback, never could have been a quarterback. But that pick six he threw on that corner route was you can't read that much worse than he did. Like, that was inexcusable.
No, I agree. And, the wild thing is the Jags winning on week 18 didn't even screw up their first pick of the draft because the Lions pulled it out against the Packers. Like, everything's coming up roses in Jacksonville.
I'm telling you, Dan Campbell has something going in Detroit. They're not going to be a contender anytime soon because they don't have the players for it. But he is very clearly a player's coach because those guys, with the limited talent that he has, go out there and they play freaking hard for him. And yeah, they're 4-13 or something, 5-12, whatever they ended up being. Not even that.
Yeah. So Dan Campbell really is a player's coach. I mean, he is. You know, he lights a fire under those guys. Like he inspired all of us in the offseason with the biting the kneecaps off stuff. So like, yeah, let's do this thing, man. And so he's not going to have success in Detroit, but he's making his case for wherever his next job is. Like, you know, and you know that's all you can do really is just try to jump up the ladder every chance you get, and that, I think he's proven his point. So
I think Dan Campbell is exactly what Joe Judge wants to believe he is.
So I saw something. I saw something today actually on one of the ESPN shows that is it's something to a slightly above casual fan, but not hardcore football head kind of guy. Is that for Dan Campbell to take responsibility and relieve his OC in week whatever it was and take over play calling duties, like that shows that he wants to win, even with a crappy lineup. Like he could have let that all fall on the OC all season long, you know, and then fired him in the offseason. But it showed how much Dan Campbell wanted to win by, I think it was week 10, by relieving his OC week 10, taking over play calling duties, and then having some minor success after that. So good on Dan Campbell. That wasn't anything we were even planning on talking about this week, but I've been a Dan Campbell fan since he had me wanting to go bite some kneecaps this summer.
Yeah,
have
I
you
actually
used
make
that with
fun
the
of
high
him for the
school
biting
kids?
the kneecaps, but
Alrighty. So all of that leads into it is playoffs, baby. If you shave now, you're an idiot. So let's do this thing. So the first game coming up is Raiders at the Bengals. It's expected to be a cold weather game. It's actually on Saturday, so make sure you're not taking a play off there. Um, Cincinnati is 5.5 point favorites. So where are you guys standing on Raiders and Bengals? Because I know where
think
I'm standing.
I think we probably will all agree the Bengals are the better team. The Raiders have been playing maybe some decent football here lately, but out of all the teams in the playoffs, I think they have the worst plus minus. Yes, even worse than the Steelers. Um, on the road at Bengals, I'm taking the Bengals. Raiders hadn't scored 20 points until they in like 4 games at home, which they're on the road this week, but their offense have been struggling a little bit. Darren Waller is back, but Bengals got a decent defense. The numbers point to the Bengals. They're at home. I'm taking Joe Burrow.
I'm also taking the Bengals. I think the Bengals win a playoff game. But excuse me. At this point in time, I'm not counting against Derek Carr. Derek Carr's proven himself time and time and time again as one of the most, if not the most, underrated quarterback in the NFL.
In the warm weather, yes, I agree.
Warm weather, yeah, he's pretty good in the warm
Yeah.
weather. Um, so I look for it to be a good game. I think Cincinnati wins a close game. The cold weather or the cold weather is definitely going to benefit the Bengals.
so an interesting fact here. Derek Carr and Patrick Mahomes are both playing in their first wild card weekend ever. Derek Carr because he's never made the playoffs, and Patrick Mahomes because he's always had a bye every time he's played, every year he's played. Um, but I actually think that this game, other than the 49ers Cowboys, I think those will be the two closest games. I mean Rams Cardinals.
You feeling a rat line at 5.5?
Rams Cardinals. I don't know. I mean, I thought about taking the Raiders plus 5.5. To be honest, I do think the Bengals should win this game. I think it'll be a good game though. I don't think the Bengals are going to run away with it by any means. The Bengals have been inconsistent themselves. I mean, if the Bengals come out and play to their potential, I mean, they could beat anybody. But the Bengals have been up and down all season. They've had some weeks where they don't look like the team you think they're going to look like, and they've had some weeks where they come back from down 20 points against the Chiefs and put them away. I
And
mean,
one thing you have to keep or take into consideration is the Bengals are as young as you can be, pretty much, and it's a big playoff game. Cincinnati doesn't get many home playoff games, so there's going to be a big crowd. They're going to be ruckus.
and then on
And
the
that
flip side of that, the Raiders just exerted all of their energy in a huge Sunday night
mhm.
game win. A lot of letdowns after that. So I mean, it could be the
Yeah,
Bengals come out and rout them.
if you're 24 years old and it's your first time in the playoffs, or if you're 28 years old and it's your first time in the playoffs, I don't feel like those jitters would be any different.
Yeah.
So like, yeah, Cincinnati's young, but what the hell have the Raiders ever done? So
Yeah, that's true.
Well,
it's kind of
and the Raiders are kind of the Cinderella story of the NFL this year. And Cinderella only ever plays out in the NCAA tournament, and that doesn't usually result in a national championship. So that's another thing is
there's nobody outside of Cincinnati that predicted Cincinnati to win their division though. So Cinderella's kind of playing
but they
Cinderella a little bit.
Cinderella versus
but
Cinderella.
Cincinnati didn't have to face the adversity that Las Vegas did.
That's true.
They had to
I
live
think
in
we're all
Cincinnati.
agreeing though, Bengals. I think it'll be a closer game though.
I think it'll be a good game as well.
No, I'm taking the Bengals. At just fair warning, the AFC is very chalk for me. It's I, I don't know. I
Has
just
been
think the
all year.
I just think the AFC's lower seeds are just weaker in general. I don't see Vegas getting out of there even covering. I really don't. I see that as a 2-touchdown win by Cincinnati. Moving on though, this should be a good game. Is Pats at Bills. Buffalo is 4-point favorites at the moment. Rubber match between the two. We had the insane win game, and then Buffalo took care of business when they went to New England. But where do you guys see that one shaking out?
I'm Googling the forecast in Buffalo real quick, and I will tell you.
3
I think
degrees.
it's 3 degrees right now. I know it's supposed to be very cold. I don't know if there's supposed to be snow or not. And barring 60-mile-an-hour winds and a foot of snow, the Bills will take care of the Patriots. I think I would put money on the Bills before I would the Bengals in this one. The Patriots, unless the Bills' offense just is inept, the Patriots, Mac Jones isn't going to beat you. If the Bills can play like their offense can play, the Patriots can't keep up.
It's 10 degrees and minor winds Saturday, so I'm taking the Bills as well. If it was
I'm taking the Bills either way. You go back to that first matchup against the Patriots. Bills were kind of struggling over the recent weeks. And we said when the Bills lost the Patriots there, we said Josh Allen didn't use his legs at all, and they learned from that. Allen's been using his legs a little more. Bills have kind of found themselves a little bit. Patriots have kind of lost themselves. Patriots aren't playing their best football. I'm taking the Bills either way. I think they're going to outmatch the Patriots.
I also agree with that statement. I don't see a way out of this for the Patriots. Yeah, Belichick's going to have a game plan in place, but the Bills are a very strong team. So I just don't see the Pats being able to get out of there with you want to talk about up and down offenses. Yeah, when you're playing somebody that's 3-11, their Pats are lights out. But when you're playing somebody that's decent like the Dolphins, you're gonna get some licks in. So yeah, I just don't see how New England comes out of Buffalo with a win in that one. I just don't. First game on Sunday, Philadelphia at Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay is currently 8.5-point favorites. Tom Brady in the playoffs. I mean, that's kind of all that needs to be said. I know it's against Philly. I get it. But Tom Brady in the playoffs early. It's not a championship game. It's not a Super Bowl. So he's not going to lose yet. It's just not happening.
Yeah, and that's the thing is if you plug just about any any quarterback not named Mahomes or Rodgers into that situation, two of your three best receivers are done for. I'm taking the other team, but it's Tom Brady we're talking about. I could go out there and probably get a 100-yard game with Tom Brady throwing me the ball. So I'm taking Tom Brady and probably the spread too. The Eagles are a good story this year, but you're playing playoff Tom Brady at home. Just not going to happen.
The best thing about it is, obviously I'm with the Bucks too. The Eagles were 0-6 against playoff competition this year, teams that made the playoffs. They kind of feasted on lesser competition. And they did look flashy in those games, so that makes you feel a little bit better about them. But just like the Patriots, They didn't do it against the playoff teams. So, you know, that's where you give the Buccaneers an edge. Obviously, Tom Brady gives them an edge. The best thing is, though, one of these teams that we're not given much of a chance to is going to maybe pull off an upset. That's the best
Yeah.
part about the NFL. Like,
It's
yeah,
not gonna
we're
be far
taking
from
these
it.
teams, but we're going to be sitting here next week talking about how we were wrong about one of these games.
You're
Oh,
sliding that in there before we get to the fourth AFC game.
I am not picking the Steelers to win. I'll just
Yeah, the Bucks Eagles game. The Eagles' trajectory is, I mean, good on them. 9-8 season, make the playoffs. Nobody expected that. I think we were all expecting like 6 wins this year for them. They beat the teams they're supposed to beat, but that's all they did. They didn't beat playoff teams, and I'm not taking anything away from the Eagles season, but you're not going to go into Tampa and beat Tom Brady. It's just not going to happen. One thing that's funny though is all the running backs in this game, and Jalen Hurts is the leading rusher on the two teams with 784 yards rushing this year. That dude, I think a lot of people slighted him coming into this season, and I think he's done well for Philly this year.
yes, he really has. And I was kind of a hater going into the year. Like, I didn't know if he had what it takes, but he is. So
Did you
with
see?
go ahead.
Go ahead.
With him having the what'd you say, 700 how many yards?
84 and 10 touchdowns.
Yeah. So that speaks to Jalen Hurts' ability to use his legs. But they have also had like 5 feature backs this year. Every week they got another back hurt. And so it's hard for anyone. Like Boston Scott had a couple good games. Gainwell had a couple good games. Like it seems like whoever they plug into that situation succeeds, kind of like how the Ravens do behind Lamar Jackson. It doesn't matter if they have a top tier back or a third string back on another team in there. They're going to succeed. But that's because of Jalen Hurts' ability to use his legs.
Yeah. So for me, obviously I'm taking Tampa Bay, but for Philly to be in this spot at this point in their build, I think they're scary moving forward. They have 3 first round picks this year. And like regardless, you could think your front office is trash. You can't screw up 3 first round picks. I don't know how you could. Like, kicker, punter, kicker. Like, it's just not going to happen. So, you know, Bodie can start smiling from ear to ear because I think it's just going to be better for them over the next few years as they get this talent in the door with these picks that they've accumulated by draft or by trading people. Like, they could probably get it, another couple later round picks for Minshew if they decide to move him along
Mm-hmm.
to one of these teams that's looking to somebody. So like the amount of draft capital they could be sitting on in this draft alone is crazy. And so all that young talent coming together, like, kind of fought their way to the playoffs this year. Philly's kind of they're in a very good spot moving forward.
And on
They
top
are.
of that, talk about the trade of the century. Carson Wentz gets the amount of snaps to get them the first round pick. So the Eagles got a first round picks for Carson Wentz. The Eagles make the playoffs with Jalen Hurts, and the Colts don't with Carson Wentz.
Mm-hmm. It's like the Cam
Yeah.
Newton situation in Carolina, but backwards.
the another thing to that point, Carl, you're throwing 3 first round picks on the 9-8 team, which helps those first round picks just kind of mesh in instead of going to a 2-4 team where you kind of have to do more. So yeah, it's going to be even harder to screw those up.
Mm-hmm. All right, moving on to probably one of the best games on the schedule is going to be Niners at Dallas. I don't know about you guys, but that is really the only upset that I'm kind of feeling this week. The Niners are playing hard, and Kyle Shanahan is a smart enough dude that I think he can find your weak point. He can take Micah Parsons kind of out of the game, and he's going to attack Diggs or do something. But I really do think that Shanahan outsmarts McCarthy in that one, and the Niners come away with that.
Yeah, I'm going to stick with the Cowboys. I might go against the grain here. Yeah, the Cowboys, just like the Bengals and how we'll talk about the Rams, they've had their moments this year where they haven't looked real great. But I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt at home. I think it's going to be a very tough game. I'm going to stick with the Cowboys in this one.
I'm going with the Cowboys as well. If it was just on who the better coach is, I would completely agree the Niners would win this game. But luckily, the players have to play the game on the field. The Niners have, I've talked about in the last few weeks. I mean, the fact they're 10-7 in the playoffs is impressive with how they started this season. Kudos to them. I do think that Dallas has a better team, though. Dak is the better quarterback. Dallas has the better running backs. Dallas's defense has played better this year. Dallas should not lose this game. Now, I wouldn't be surprised if the Niners do win this game because McCarthy and Dallas and every possible bit of jinx is on the Cowboys, being the Cowboys and having McCarthy as your coach and every other thing that Dallas is going to Dallas, McCarthy's going to McCarthy, but Dallas shouldn't lose this game.
Well,
Dallas is much better. Dallas is much better when their receivers are healthy, and they've been healthy recently, and they're healthy going into this game. So that's what, that's one of the biggest factors in me in judging the Cowboys.
so for anybody who hasn't watched a single episode of the podcast yet, I'll go ahead and give my prediction. Anybody who's watched at least 30 seconds of any episode, you already know who I'm picking. Niners in 1, baby.
Yeah, Dallas, they're a good team, but yeah, they went 6-0 in their division, but Philadelphia wins. We just mentioned Philadelphia's struggles. Washington football team, the Commanders, and the Giants. I mean, come on now. San
We're going to
Francisco
go
was
ahead and
playing
break the news. Washington Commanders is the new name.
They had so many. I've seen like pictures
Red
and
Wolves. I'm so hurt.
and
that
the
those are Red
what was
Wolves.
it, Warhogs. I've seen some like mock-ups of the Warhogs and Red Wolves stuff, and it was
The
so cool.
Admirals.
Admirals
thrown out
isn't
there.
bad at all either,
I like that one.
but Commanders, was G.I. Joe going to be their mascot?
Probably George Washington.
America.
Probably be George
Coming
Washington on the
again.
sideline.
If their
right.
mascot isn't George Washington in a powder wig, then they're doing it all wrong.
That's kind of the Patriots mascot, though. He wears a powder wig.
Fuck the Patriots.
Just saying, it's already taken. Next game, Pittsburgh at Kansas City. Kansas City 12.5-point favorites. By now, you guys know how this podcast leans, so you probably know how this is going to go. The only one that's probably going to give any true insight to how this game will go is Kyler. So, Kyler, go ahead.
I mean, you got to expect that. I mean, 12.5 is probably. Did you say 12.5? Yeah.
Mhm.
I mean, take your pick. I mean, yeah, the Steelers could cover that. Chiefs could cover that. This could be a blowout. I think the only way the Steelers win this game, obviously, is if the Chiefs struggle to score, a couple fluke plays happen, keep the game close, and let Big Ben do his thing on the last drive. Obviously, there's a small chance the Steelers win. I think 95% of America is picking the Chiefs, but I also think 90% of America wants the Steelers to beat the Chiefs. But that's typically how it goes when you're the underdog. So,
But the Chiefs have those Steph Curry kids now, so maybe
in
not
Kansas City,
95%, like 91%.
maybe, yeah, maybe you're close. Either way, yeah, obviously everybody's probably picking the Chiefs. You start, I'll just leave it at that.
So I'm taking the Chiefs, but when it comes to the spread, I'm taking the Steelers. 10.5, is that what you said?
12.5.
12.5. I think it'll be a single score game. Playoff atmosphere. TJ Watt's playing. It's Big Ben in his
Playoff atmosphere in Kansas City, though.
yeah, but Big Ben in his last hurrah. You know Big Ben's gonna play well. He's just going to.
Just send your bookie a text and somebody might make that
So
happen.
I'm taking
First thing I
Chiefs.
wanna
I think
say
Chiefs by 3, but the Chiefs are gonna win.
The first thing I want to say is they probably need to do an investigation on Ben Roethlisberger quick after his quote today. he basically said he's throwing in the towel today already, didn't he? No,
was
I
sarcasm.
think No, I agree. It was sarcasm to get all the reporters out of Pittsburgh. I was
It's
just
mind games. He's already setting it up. Mind games.
he's trolling
Andy
hard.
Reid
as
shut
usual.
that down quick, though.
Yeah, no Chiefs players responded. Andy Reid went to the locker room and
Yeah.
said, "Hey, you guys shut your mouths right now." Um, no, I mean, I honestly, this is honest for me. I've talked a lot of bad about Ben Roethlisberger this year. But Ben Roethlisberger has been a great quarterback in the NFL. I don't see this game being close, and I hate that this is going to be Ben's last game because unless the Chiefs just can't score the football for some reason, which the way the Steelers defense has played this year shouldn't be a problem. The Chiefs should take care of business on Sunday, and I don't want that to be Ben's last game as getting beat in the first round of the playoffs.
The way Twitter has been talking about this Chiefs Steelers game is how you lose games. That is how favorites go down when everybody gets on the same side talking smack. And it's like, guys, just shut the hell up for a little bit. Let them play the game. Talk your smack after. Like,
Um,
it's classic. I don't know how many times we've seen it, but this is how it happens every single time. And I am in a situation that you guys aren't. I have to live out here. I have to live with these folks. I have to wear Chiefs gear around all of these guys. I don't need this. I need you guys to shut up until after the Sunday night game ends. Please.
This is the classic Virginia versus UMBC matchup. Virginia wins 99% of the time, but there's that one game. There's that one
It's really
outlier.
It's definitely a good time to be a Steelers fan because none of the pressure is on the Steelers to win.
Not at all.
And if they do somehow pull it off, I will have plenty of ammunition. But if they lose, it's just kind of expected. There was out of all the other teams in the AFC playoffs, I do think the Steelers can beat those teams. The Chiefs are the worst matchup out of all of them for them because the Chiefs are the hardest team to keep in the teens, like scoring wise, and that's how the Steelers want to win their games.
I just don't see. I mean, it could happen. It's happened plenty of times before. I just don't see how Andy Reid led team at home, Patrick Mahomes at quarterback. I don't see how they lose this game.
That's another thing. Those guys don't take people light, and that's what
I mean,
the
they'll be
Steelers would
ready.
kind of.
They will be ready. And then a mature Travis Kelce. At one time, Travis Kelce, I didn't have any faith in the dude to be ready for a big game. He's the one who lost us the game pretty much against the Steelers that one year in the playoffs with that stupid penalty.
Yeah, maybe he'll do it again.
Now he's a little bit more mature. I don't see him taking them light either.
Hard to beat a team twice. We throttled them the first time, but it's hard to beat a team twice.
3 times.
You're right.
So,
and I already
the
said
same
in the group
sometimes.
chat, this would be the Chiefs are a few years removed from this would be the status quo for the Chiefs. Lose to a team that they just demolished in the regular season in the first round of the playoffs.
Go back to being just your average, normal Chiefs year.
You guys need to stop talking. You're unjinxing the jinx.
We're throwing the reverse double cat's ass whammy. And we do hold power over the cat's ass whammy, whether you say so or not, Carl.
When has the cat's ass ever worked?
It works all the time.
Name one time the cat's ass has worked.
There's so many that I can't even think of a specific instance.
We cat's ass whammy every game there is, so it's gonna scratch in the end.
All right, the last game, Monday night game, Arizona at the Rams. Rams 4-point favorites. Great game for Monday night. Great game to be on its own, I think. Like, it's
Manning
weird to
killing
get a Monday night game in the playoffs, but it's great that this is it. I don't think any of these, side note, none of these games are on Nickelodeon, right?
Yes.
Yeah, there is.
There is. What?
I think
Is
it's
it
the
Niners,
noon game.
Cowboys?
Buccaneers, Eagles. I think
Oh,
it might be
Right.
both the.
you better believe I'm watching fucking Philadelphia and Tampa
Slime
Bay
time.
in slime time, baby. Slime time. Nick Vision.
Okay, sorry. Rams, Cardinals, Rams -4.
I like either team in this one. I'm gonna go with the Rams just because they were my preseason Super Bowl pick, and I'm gonna stick with them. But I'm taking the Rams. But obviously, both these teams have question marks. I think the Cardinals have just a bit more question marks recently. Rams lost to the Niners last week. That's a division game. Those games go either way. I'm not gonna fault them too much for that.
This
But
is a
obviously-
division game.
This is a division game. It can go either way. Matt Stafford, take care of the ball and you win this game.
Yeah,
No, I agree with that.
this is the game I'm most excited about of all the playoff games. Or not most excited about. Obviously, I'm excited about the Chiefs game. I think will be the best game. I'm looking for a 49ers upset, but I think when it comes down to just the level of football being played, this is not a wild card matchup between these two teams. Yes, they're playing in the wild card, but these two teams, this could very easily be an NFC championship matchup too. And we're getting to see it in wild card weekend. Taking the Rams, like Kai said, the Cardinals have had some question marks here lately. Matt Stafford, who I'm as big a fan of as anybody is, has had some big question marks down the stretch. Hasn't played particularly well. But I think the Rams win this in a very, very close game.
Yeah, it looks like I'm in the minority. I'm gonna take the Cardinals in this one.
I was gonna call you the biggest hypocrite in the world if you didn't take the Cardinals.
Nah, I'm gonna take the Cardinals. I mean, your opinion can change as the season goes on. I mean,
Oh, can
if
it?
you like the team at the beginning and don't like them at the end, I mean, it is what it
A
is.
Kelsey Moore opinion can change ever?
But I'm taking the Cardinals in this one. The Cardinals have been great on the road. Lucky for them, they probably won't play a home playoff game, so they'll be tough to play in this postseason.
Good
'Cause
point.
they're
Good point.
terrible at home and good on the road this year. I think this can be a great game. I mean, we've seen two between these two teams already, and they were both good games. This is gonna be a third good game, I think, between these two teams.
Yeah, I'm taking the Rams. So I know the first time Arizona came to LA this year, I do not think that was a good game. The Rams played like doo doo. But rubber match. So I am taking the Rams mainly because they were my preseason pick to win it all that I kind of regret, or to go to the Super Bowl that I kind of regret. But I don't. Arizona, I don't think's quite there yet. We mentioned some of that with Cincinnati and Oakland, and I think they're better than Cincinnati and Oakland. Don't get me wrong,
Vegas.
but I think they're kind of in that realm. They're more down on that side of things. Whereas, Stafford, he's an old vet. He doesn't have too much playoff experience, obviously, because he was in Detroit. Uh, but he's an old salty vet, as Cody would probably like him to be called.
Grizzled vet.
There you go.
The Cardinals
Sean McVay is a hell of a coach. So
the Cardinals not having DeAndre Hopkins just hurts them. I mean, it's obvious when Kyler doesn't have that safety blanket to throw to. When he went out's when they started struggling. Not having him's huge.
How many? Dang. How many sacks did Chandler Jones have week 1?
5.
5, and he ended the year with 10.5. That was just one stat I was looking at right now. So you get 5 in one game and 5.5 in the next 16 games.
Can someone explain to me how they ruled that TJ Watt play not a sack? For the record.
The same way that Tom Brady got away with the tuck rule, and the same way that what was the other big call?
Did you see the play call?
I agree. It should have been a sack. But you got the Tom Brady tuck rule, the Des Bryant not a catch. Like, the NFL just does some wonky things with rules.
If Strahan gets credit for a sack that Favre just lets him have, I think TJ Watt should get credit for that sack.
So that
but do you go back throughout the whole year and look at every play again?
No, but they do.
Do you take a half a sack away at some point? Like,
that's not unusual for a stat correction in the middle of the week. That happens all the time.
But for an all-time record, though, I feel like that would be.
You know what's funny about the Favre Strahan sack is Favre audible at the line of scrimmage. It was supposed to be a run play, held onto the ball and ran out to Strahan to let him sack it. Like, that wasn't even the play. He literally audible at the line of scrimmage to do a boot and take the sack. I heard him talking about it like 2 weeks ago.
There needs to be an asterisk next to that. Like, TJ Watt actually holds this record, but he kind of doesn't.
So, fun fact, while looking up this stat to see how many sacks Chandler Jones ended up with, JJ Watt, who I said would be a game changer in Arizona, he still had some left in the tank. Buda Baker had more sacks than J.J. Watt did. And J.J. Watt is a defensive end, for those who don't know, and Buda Baker is a safety who plays as far away from the
J.J. Watt
quarterback.
is a non-factor.
How many games did JJ play? 7?
7,
Doesn't
He is,
matter.
yes.
he is
7.
being activated for the playoffs.
Yeah, he's being activated for the playoffs. That'll be a
Pretty
huge...
sure I was still in college the last time J.J. Watt played a full season, so non-factor. All right, so that covers all the games. We're going to move on to our Super Bowl picks just because the playoffs are getting ready to start. But I did want to shout out Skylar for winning the weekly pick'em that we did. I believe Kelsey's going to send you out a shirt, so congratulations on that. You and I, Skylar, and I'm talking directly to you, we picked the most games. Everybody else forgot quite a few games. You and I only forgot one game. Mine was a Thursday night. Don't know what yours was. But I appreciate the participation. We there towards the end of the pick'em, some people got kind of out of it and got whiny baby pissy pants mode. Cody, but yeah, we had good participation. So I appreciate that. I appreciate you guys hanging along all season. We're definitely going to do it again next year. We might even do a second one that's like against the spread if you're looking to get into more of that. But the big consistent thing is just get on every Wednesday, pick your games, and like if you think about it on Saturday, you might pick a couple different ones, but just get in there and do it. So I was sitting in what, ninth for most of the year and ended up tied for second. Like stuff changes. Gavin was sitting in first for 14 weeks and ended up in fourth. So
The thing I appreciate most about Skylar beating Gavin is that Gavin got away for the first 10 weeks by picking every game for the Chargers and against the Chiefs, and then ended up backfiring it for him. He was in the lead because he picked the Chiefs to lose every game and the Chargers to win every game, and then it ended up backfiring. So thank you, Skylar. I don't have to listen to that at our next holiday, which will probably be Thanksgiving, Easter, whenever, but appreciate you.
Gavin would have ended up second if he wouldn't have picked the Chargers in the last game of the year, but he did, and all of us others picked Raiders, so he ended up fourth.
We also will definitely. I'll set up a March Madness bracket thing too in March to make sure everyone can do that. Probably be online as well.
Very good. All right, Super Bowl picks. So I don't know if you guys remember your preseason picks or not, but I had mine in my trusty notepad here, so I do remember mine. Both are still alive. I'll just start. My Super Bowl picks before the season started were Chiefs and Rams, and the AFC. I just don't see anybody strong, really, and I don't even think the Chiefs are that strong this year. I think this is the NFC's year. This is the NFC's year. But I am picking the Chiefs to make the Super Bowl, and I am picking the Rams to make the Super Bowl. I'm not going to be surprised if the Bucks or Packers make it, but I am going to pick the Rams. And then just because I want to see at least one more Super Bowl in my lifetime, I am picking the Chiefs to win the Super Bowl. So,
Well, my preseason pick was the Rams and Bills, and I'm not backing out on that now. Rams, Bills, Super Bowl, Rams win.
I also picked Rams Bills, and I will stick with my pick. I am still going Rams Bills, but I picked the Bills to win it, and I stick by that as well. I think the Bills are playing just well enough, and Josh Allen is going to turn it on here in the playoffs, and it's going to be Rams Bills. The Rams are the team who I would think maybe doesn't make it out of those two teams. I wholeheartedly think the Bills will make it, and then Bills to win the Super Bowl.
I'm Chiefs fan. You are.
Honest.
Wholeheartedly.
I'm a Chiefs fan, but
Wholeheartedly
honest.
think that the Bills will make the Super Bowl. No chance of the Chiefs. My preseason pick was the Chiefs Packers, and I believe they're the top 2 in odds, so I'll stick with those. And I'm gonna go Chiefs, even though I do have. It's funny. I picked Chiefs Packers, and I put money on the Packers. That way, if the Packers ended up winning instead of the Chiefs, I would get a nice little payout. So if Chiefs win, I'll get to celebrate a second Super Bowl in 3 years. If Packers win, I'll get some money.
Chiefs win, your heart's happy. Packers win, your wallet's happy.
Exactly.
Can't go wrong.
your alcohol intake with the Chiefs' loss is higher, so
Definitely.
pocket. Alrighty, so I think that's going to wrap it up for us this week, unless anybody has anything else. Cody, do you have anything NBA related you want to talk about? Grizzlies are on a streak.
Grizzlies are
10-game win
playing
streak.
well.
We are gonna pick every playoff game, right? We just want to announce it this week,
Yeah.
like we did for
Yeah.
the NBA. Okay.
Yeah. So my one takeaway from the NBA is 2 nights ago, John Morant had that, or 3 nights ago, John Morant had that amazing chase down two-handed block where that was just unreal to watch on film. And then last night, he didn't block the shot, but he went to block that shot at the 3-point line. And I mean, my arms don't even stretch how far he got up, and I got a 7-foot wingspan. So, but why are people just now entertained that John Morant can jump? He's been doing this since he was in high school. It's nothing new. It's not like John Morant just showed up this year and could have magically jump out of the gym. John Morant's been an athlete since he was in high school. Just so everybody knows.
He can jump out of the gym. It's crazy.
And I thought from his freshman year to sophomore year in the NBA, he would take the jump. It's his sophomore year to junior year. He's taken the jump this year, putting the league on notice. That's it.
Is he the second best point guard in the league?
There's just so many good point guards. Like, it's hard to. There's so many good point guards in the NBA.
Most athletic point guard in the league.
Yeah, and he's probably more athletic than Russell Westbrook and Derrick Rose were, and that is saying something.
So Chauncey
was.
Yeah.
Chauncey Billups said that Kyrie Irving is the most skilled point guard ever. Is he forgetting that Steph Curry is playing basketball? Because Steph Curry's a point guard, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
Steph Curry's the greatest point guard of all time. So to disrespect him like that is just asking for the Blazers to get beat by 50 next time you go to Golden State.
You know, I really wish we did this podcast like 4 years ago when Kyrie Irving was in Cleveland, because you guys used to argue with me about Kyrie and Steph.
I never
nonstop.
thought Kyrie was
Never
anywhere
said
near
Kyrie was
Steph.
better. You're in your own head now.
Whoa,
You
guys!
all are crazy. You guys are crazy if you think we argued about it in the group chat all the time. Carl watched it. You guys talked
Kelsey-
about Kyrie like he was.
Kelsey has you both on this one.
You guys talked about
You
Kyrie
guys
like he
misread
was-
the
Go
situation.
back and find the
No.
messages then. Scroll back 4 years, find the
Not scrolling
messages.
back.
I got time tonight. I got time.
That's definitely okay. Off the cuff, what's your favorite one-off thing in basketball? What's the most impressive one-off thing? With like a chase down block being one of those like kind of one-off things. You got like a swat to the stands. You've got,
I think a catch
some
block.
crazy inbound stuff.
Like when somebody
Catch block.
jumps to block a shot and catches it instead. JaVale McGee's done it. Charles Barkley has the most infamous one of all time where he like Dr. J cuffed it midair. That there's just something about that is just it's such a game changer. It's one thing to beat a block or to beat a shot into the stands. Yeah, that gets the crowd up. But the intimidation factor of catching it and then turning it into a fast break the other way is just something else.
Step overs would be another. You don't see
Mhm.
step overs very often, but those do happen. From
The
time to time.
AI is
AI,
the
yeah.
classic.
Yeah.
What's your
Okay,
favorite
well,
one-off thing?
I scrolled that whole time and I got to January 2nd, so I'm
We talk a
Right
lot in
before
our
the
group chat in
insurrection.
case anybody hasn't figured that out.
I think mine is the chase down block. Chase down blocks are cool. When so yeah, you could argue that sometimes chase down blocks are because of your poor defense earlier, but it is an athletically impressive feat to me. And I always think they're goaltending. Like there's very few times where I'm like, oh, that wasn't goaltending. It's like,
I
good,
wouldn't
but-
really call most of them bad defense. Just a fast break happened, and there really is no defense for a fast break, So having the ability to chase down block is rare.
very good. Well, that's where we'll leave you. What's your favorite one-off thing? Not just in the NBA. What's your favorite one-off thing in sports?
My
Let us
favorite's
know in
walk
the-
off homer. Walk off homer, baby.
Braves fan,
Is
of
that
course.
right? Oh, how about Georgia? We never. Whoa. We cannot leave a podcast after Bama
Hey.
loses the way they do.
You guys know who won the Super Bowl the last year Georgia won the college football championship?
I'm gonna go with the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Gonna
Wild
go with it was
guess.
40 years
Wild
ago.
guess.
You know,
Pittsburgh Steelers.
you guys were cheering for a tie in the Raiders Chargers game. I was cheering for a tie in the Bama Georgia game because I hate both the teams so much that I did not want to see one win.
If Georgia
Kirby
Bama
Smart got
tied,
that little nick filled in on his shoulder though.
if Georgia and Bama tied, did Steelers make the playoffs?
All I've got
But
to
that is one good. I don't think Belichick and Saban have ever won in the same year, so that might be scary for us.
all I've got to say about that game is roll tide.
All
All
right.
right, everybody. You guys have a good week. Playoffs are here. Tell your grandma that we say hello and that we acknowledge her presence and we are thankful for her watching our podcast and listening to us four bumbling idiots. Um, until next time, be good out there. Stay safe. Don't drink and drive. Peace.